Hey up and welcome to another episode of the Rugby League Outsiders Set of Six. This is our news show where we share the good, the great and the newsworthy of Rugby League outside the heartlands. My name's Craig.
And my name's Karl, and this week's Set of Six will be taking a deep dive into the Midlands Grand Final, which promises to be an absolute cracker. We've got both head coaches giving their views on that. We'll be talking about London Broncos with a historic win this week. There's also been a bit of transfer news for transfer deadline day. We'll be diving into that.
Yeah, all in all, I took round 20 of the Super League. Like it was a little bit vanilla, as the saying goes. There weren't too much going on, but there was some little bits of news which we're gonna drag up and talk about today, including we're gonna talk about George Williams, Michael Lewis and Harry Smith, like who is the top picks for that England international series later on in the year. So we're going to talk about that later on in the show, so stay tuned for that. So Karl, start us off. What have we got?
London Broncos beating Catalans Dragons at the weekend. Huge win for them. Really great to see, and it's been coming a while, but I didn't expect to see it against Catalans Dragons. Two sides outside the heartlands. A good crowd in there as well. They're offering cheap price tickets. Just a all-round good rugby league news story, I thought.
Yeah, and if you're ever anywhere near the capital, go and take in a game there. If nothing else, they've got like some of the best paninis you'll ever have in your life. Like we had one. It was huge. It's like the size of your freaking arm.
Good paninis.
You know, it's a great panini. But you know, and a great stadium as well. So no, I didn't expect this win.
And it opened up the whole IMG debate again, because they had David Hughes. Sky Sports interviewed David Hughes at half time, and he alluded to, I thought, that there may be some movement in how the grading's going to happen. He didn't say it as such, but I don't know. Did you take that from his interview?
I think you've got to be very careful. I think he kind of kept his cards close to his chest, whether they're in discussions with IMG and the RFL. I mean, obviously they will be.
He said something like, I don't want to comment on that too much, but hopefully there'll be a little bit of movement, is what he said.
Yeah.
So that seems to suggest to me that there could well be some changes coming in how the teams are assessed.
Yeah, but I mean, of course, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. Whether there's conversations going on, and you know, and that's what they're actually talking about is something else. It might be a big leap to sort of think, okay, they've won a couple of games, including beating a strong top half of the table team in Catalan. You know, like a proven team there. They're going to be kind of really questioning why they're not going to get the ability to stay in the Super League. So maybe, I don't know, but time will tell.
It's got to be all to do with the catchment area, hasn't it? And we've said all year that the catchment area that London Broncos has been given just isn't right. It's literally around the stadium when there isn't another professional club in the capital city, so it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but they also spoke about the fact that they've done, in their history, they've looked at like the last 3 years in order to be contenders for Super League. And what they were saying was like out of the 27 years of Super League, they've been involved in the Super League for like 20 seasons.
20 seasons out of the 27 years. So then you've got to throw it back and say, okay, well, there has been a side in London for 20 years. 20 years out of the 27 Super League years. Should we have seen a bit more progress in that time?
Yeah, no.
It opens a whole debate, that does.
Yeah, there is lots of talking points around this, and what we need is a couple of insiders that know what's truly going on and what was truly behind the decisions to fill us in on this. Otherwise, everything else is just speculation.
I think we need London Broncos in the Super League, and I just think they have to. You know, they're just exempt from it for however many years. I think we need a strong team in the capital city. It's all right, people saying, you know, rugby league's a northern sport, but it's never going to grow. It's so important to have a club in London, I think.
But there will be a club in London. It just won't be a Super League team.
I think it's so important that we have a top flight club in London. They have to stay, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, you know, let's not break too far away from the amazing result that they had at the weekend. And I think, like we've said, it has been coming throughout the weeks, and in their games have kind of peaked it off towards the end. And this is the first week where they've kind of kept it going right up to literally the dying seconds of the game.
Yeah, they've got some long-term injuries back as well, starting to come back now. So they could start to finish the season quite strongly, which would be nice to see, wouldn't it? Just even if they can just get more fans into the ground and more eyes on rugby league in the capital, it'd be awesome to see.
Okay, so from the capital, we're going to move on to the Midlands.
Yeah, Midlands League. 2 semi-finals took place this week. We went to one of them. And all I can say about the Midlands League this year has been absolutely incredible. It's been one of the strongest divisions, certainly since I've been involved in Midlands rugby. Nottingham Outlaws defeated Birmingham Bulldogs 20 points to 8, and then we had a similar scoreline, Telford Raiders defeating Sherwood Wolfhunt at home. I think it's 20 points to 12 or 2014 or something. Yeah, 20 points to 12 it was. Sounds like 2 incredible games, topping off an incredible season, and I can't wait for the final, Craig. I really can't wait for this final. Yeah,
it's been this crescendo towards the end of the season has been building for a good few years. We had to establish rugby league in the Midlands had to establish itself as a strong league over the last couple of seasons. That then encouraged Sherwood and Nottingham to drop down into this, not drop down, that's not what I mean, but move left from the Yorkshire leagues into the Midlands League, and then it's formed this really competitive league, which we've enjoyed watching throughout the season. I think every team has kind of won and lost against teams that you wouldn't kind of expect, and it's all led to a final where it's hard to call, really.
Yeah, it were an incredible season last year. It was a really high standard last year, and then having the 2 Nottinghamshire sides come into the division this year has just made it even stronger. And there is a shift happening in community rugby league, believe it or not. I've spoke to quite a lot of people that were there who've been involved in the Midlands clubs who have taken part in the Yorkshire divisions, and they're saying that actually the Yorkshire divisions, they are not thriving, they're not growing. And if you're not growing, you're dying, aren't you? That's one of your sayings, that is.
Yeah.
The Midlands League isn't dying, it's just getting stronger and stronger every year. So there is that shift is happening, and people, and we know how strong the community game is down south. So the game is thriving outside the heartlands. I genuinely believe that, and this weekend's final is going to be an absolute ripper.
Yeah, it definitely is. I won't be there. However, you're hoping to get there. What's your expectations, Karl? Can you call it at all?
You know what? I can't call it. I genuinely can't call it. Obviously, we used to play for Telford, so we see Telford play a little bit more. They're more local to us. I saw Nottingham play Telford earlier on in the season. I thought Nottingham was a stronger side. Their game management's really good. They're really well coached side. But Telford started slow and have got better. Honestly, I can't call it. It's going to be a great game. There's going to be a massive crowd there. I know Aston are doing a load of hard work. So it's going to be at Aston, who is another brand new club in the Midlands. They've got, they're having the final at their ground. There's going to be loads of people there. It's going to be a cracking occasion.
Yeah, and we caught up with both head coaches, Joe Shepherd of Nottingham Outlaws and also Nathan Parker of Telford Raiders. So let's hear from them now. Now I've got Joe Shepherd, the head coach of Nottingham Outlaws. You were successful at the weekend and have secured your place in the Midlands final. You must be quite excited there, Joe.
Yeah, we're delighted. We played Birmingham in the league about a month ago and managed to blow a 24-point lead against them. They came back and won 28-24. After a brilliant comeback. So looking into the weekend, we were determined to try and put that right, and we knew Birmingham had come with a strong team and it was a real good test, and we managed to get the win, and we're all absolutely delighted that we're in the final at the weekend.
Joe, just talk me through the semi-final a bit then, if you can. How did the game unfold?
It's a bit of a blur, to be honest. I've got a clear memory of the second half. I can't remember who took the lead in the first half. I think they might have scored first. But they've just got lots of big, strong, athletic runners. And if you let them too close to your line, they'll get over the try line. So I think it was about nip and tuck, and I think it was fairly level at half time. And then they had us under the cosh quite a bit at the start of the second half, and were putting a lot of pressure on our line. And luckily, we held out. I say luckily, the lads defended really well. We held out and were able to complete some sets and get some territory down the other end of the field. And then eventually, we were able to get a couple of tries and hold them off at the end as they were trying to come back into it.
Great stuff. Joe, it's your sort of first season. I did speak to you earlier on in the year. It's your first season back into the Midlands division this year. Generally, how have you found the standard of play now? How's it really compared to the Yorkshire divisions that you were in previously?
It's different. It's different style of rugby, really. What we thought would be the case, and what's proved to be the case, is that every team has got quality rugby players in, athletic lads who can pass, run, kick, and probably the standard of general rugby skills and athleticism is probably higher than in the Yorkshire League that we're in. But in the Yorkshire League, you'll come up against these teams with these old boys who've played rugby league for years and know how to run a game. So it's just a different style of rugby, really. Like, I think probably athletically and physically, and the rugby skills with the Midlands teams probably higher. But then there's some rugby league nous with those Yorkshire teams that's probably higher. So it's just a different type of rugby. And what we've found is every team, if you underestimate them, you're going to get beaten. And you can see from the league table that everybody's been beating each other. So if you go into a game and you're not quite on it, you're going to get turned over. So we've really enjoyed it. It's been a really good standard for us. And if we've not played well, we've got beaten. And if you've got to be on your game, really, otherwise you'll get turned over.
Yeah, that game management was really evident, we thought, from the sidelines when you played Telford Raiders early on in the season. We thought that your team, yourself, managed that game much better and ended up with a win. So can definitely see that. You've also had some success with your women's team. Do you think you're going to be playing on that a little bit to enthuse the lads?
Go for the double.
Well, yeah, hopefully. I mean, the women did a brilliant job yesterday. It was a really good day. We had 4 teams over at Nottingham, Leamington, Coventry, Telford, and ourselves. And some great rugby. Unfortunately, there was a serious injury to one of the Leamington players, which meant that the final game had to be cut short. But really good afternoon's rugby, and the women have definitely inspired the men's team. We've got to go on and try and match their standard that they set yesterday.
So, Joe, looking towards the final next week, what can we expect from a Nottingham Outlaws side, and what do you think we can expect from the Telford side?
Well, that game we played against Telford, you could see Telford putting some really good attacking shape on and putting some good plays together, and we knew they were going to get better, and I think they've proved that with losing the first 2 games and then bouncing back and finishing top of the table. I think that's a great credit to the Telford club and the coaching staff and the players that they've bounced back and just seem to have improved throughout the season as the season's gone on. So we're expecting it to be a real tough game next week, and we're going to have to make sure we respect the basics of the game. We're going to have to complete well. We're going to have to defend well. And if we do that, we'll hopefully put ourselves in with a chance. But we know it's going to be a real tough game at the weekend. Who
do you think in your squad, in your opinion, really deserves to be in a final this year?
Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, I'm gonna. The lads have all done really well, but I'm going to pick one bloke because our captain, Corin Ward, has just been phenomenal. He's been captain, I think, for 3 or 4 seasons now, and I really want us to get a win on Saturday for him because he deserves it, because his leadership's been fantastic. We've also had a brilliant captain for the women's team in the past few years with somebody called Violet Coppin, who's been brilliant. And you couldn't have wished for 2 better captains. And Violet stepped away this year, and Riz Lord has taken over the captaincy of the women's team, and she's done an absolutely fantastic job as well. So we've been really lucky at Nottingham with the people we've had leading the teams. And I think, Corin really deserves a day in the sun at the weekend. So hopefully we can get the win for him. But all the players have been great, and I think after it's been a long time between drinks, for us being in finals. We've not been in a final for years, so hopefully the lads can enjoy it and put a good performance in at the weekend.
Joe, thank you for calling in. Look, congratulations to your women's side on the victory at the weekend. Well-earned league win there. And good luck at the weekend. I think it promises to be one of the most exciting Midlands finals we've had for years. I know the league this year has been incredible, so I can't wait to go down and watch it. It's going to be an ace afternoon. And at the minute, I'll be honest with you, I prefer to go watch Midlands rugby than I do Super League, and that says something. It's been a cracking season.
Well, hopefully we can do the business and put on a good show for you at the weekend, and you won't be disappointed.
Best of luck, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you very much, chaps.
Cheers.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.
An interview with Nathan Parker, who's the head coach of the Telford Raiders. They beat Sherwood Wolfhunt at the weekend and have secured their place in the Midlands final. So thanks for joining us, Nath.
No worries, mate.
Opening season for you as a head coach. How's it gone?
Well, obviously back-to-back finals. Start of the season didn't go quite to plan. We lost the first two games. First one was to Sherwood. They beat us by about 16 points up at theirs. And then the second game at home to lose to Nottingham. Obviously, we got in the final by 2 points. It was a bit of a back down to earth with a bump kind of thing. And then since then, the lads have, I don't know whether realised this league wouldn't be as easy as, well, not easy as it was last year, but it was more competitive. And then they just seem to be getting better and better.
Did you make any sort of changes after those couple of games in training, or how you prepared for the games?
Not how we prepared for the games. In training, I think what me, Joe, Denham and Martin just spoke about is going back to basics. I think we got maybe a little bit excited and we were just like, let's do this, let's do that. And we kind of skipped over the basics, and it probably cost us in the first two games, really. And then turning point was we went and did just a little contact drill and worked some contact. And I think going into contact, especially in a home game, we're so dominant. Like the forwards just front up, and it puts us on the front foot every game.
Nathan, over the last, as long as I can remember, you've been like a big part of Telford Raiders' success as a player. What's it been like making that shift from a player to a coach?
It's been enjoyable, but also very difficult because, one game you can have to put someone on the bench that you other than being rugby friends, you're probably best friends with outside of rugby, and that's the most difficult one. And then you've got to think about players' feelings if they do get dropped and speaking to them. And I probably have upset a few people this season, and obviously everything's just a learning curve, but it's been exciting, and obviously just staying around the team, it's been good. It's been good.
Nathan, looking towards Nottingham then, like you say, you played them earlier on in the year. I was actually there for that game. I thought it was a really tough game. Two very evenly matched sides. I thought Nottingham controlled the game a little bit better than you guys. I think that's fair to say. Do you think the Raiders have sort of learnt as the season's gone on how to sort of grind the wins out?
I totally be honest with you. They did control the game. They come down to us and they dominated us. They put a show on and they just controlled the game. We made so many, you like to call them coach killers, and it did kill us in the end, and they won by 2 points. But since then, we are grinding out results. I obviously wasn't there at Sherwood, but to grind out a win against them at home, it is good. Some of the lads are very still new to the game. We're probably running with 6 or 7 debut seasons again, and they're learning each week, and you can see that they're actually getting better and better each week as well, which is only a positive to have.
Nathan, who out of those players sort of deserves a little bit of a mention in the run up to the final?
Well, I've got 2 of them that Tommy Woods flew back over from America to help us out again when he's on his half term from college, or he's trying to rearrange his flight at the moment, so he goes back on Sunday, so he's available for the final. But Harry Stokes, who I think he's played 6 of these 8 games now, he just seems to be getting better and better. it was just a random text saying, I've seen you play at Hornets. Do you fancy coming down and giving it a go? And he just seems to thrive in it. Reece McAllister apparently was close to getting man of the match on Saturday. He's played 5 or 6 games and he wished he played sooner now. There's just little core players of the team that are really stepping up, and they are getting better and better.
Nathan, I just want to say good luck for the weekend. I'm sure it's going to be a tough match, but I think you've got a lot to play for in being the current holders of the title. Yeah,
well, we've got to look at it. Pressure's on us to regain it, but then pressure's on them because they beat us earlier in the season. So it sure will be a great game to watch.
Nath, thank you for calling in, mate. We appreciate it. Best of luck.
No worries, pal.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
Both very, very excited for this match. Not going to leave any stone unturned.
Yeah.
Interesting to hear some of those players that deserve a bit of recognition deserve to be in a final. So, a couple of ones that Raiders mentioned, we know they're sort of established rugby union players. Great to for them to be involved in a final. Hopefully we'll keep all them for many years to come. But there's also a little bit of women's news in the Midlands as well.
Well, yeah, the women's division, it wasn't a final as in a traditional final this year. So they've been playing their weeks as almost like festivals. So you've got 4 teams taking part in each festival. So it was like the last game of the season. So the 2 semi-finals took place. It were Nottingham Outlaws versus Telford Raiders and Leamington Royals against Coventry Bears in the other semi-final. Nottingham came out on top. They progressed to the final, and Leamington won the other semi-final against Coventry, and Nottingham took the title there. So Nottingham are the winners of the Women's League. So congratulations to them. I know they've worked incredibly hard developing that Women's League women's team over a number of years. It's not just a new flash in the pan, but great to see the second year of the Women's Midlands League, and it's continued to thrive. And there are a couple of teams on the outskirts as well now. There's I know the Midlands Hurricanes have pretty much got a full squad, so I think they'll hoping to be pushing into that league next year. So yeah, another fine example of the Midlands rugby thriving. So we also had the conclusion of the Scottish division this week. We had Mikey Mayer on from Edinburgh Eagles, didn't we, last week? They defeated Glasgow 30 points to 24. It was an incredibly close game, and it went down to the last play of the game. Their scrum half got the winning try, snatched it at the death. So congratulations to Edinburgh Eagles on being the Scottish champions, yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so some big name signing here in the Midlands, Karl.
Yeah, no one saw this one coming, did they? Midlands Hurricanes have been incredibly busy in the transfer window. I was trying to keep up with it, and it was just one after another after another. And Mike Lomas, the Hurricanes chairman, he kept putting little tidbits out there, alluding to something that was happening, although he gave it away on his last one. That was a shocker with Mambo number 5 that he overdubbed, which was crap. But yeah, Jake Mamo has signed for the Midlands Hurricanes. Massive signing, NRL experience, top flight Super League player a couple of years ago. Great to see him helping Midlands Hurricanes out.
Just a really exciting player, and he had a bit of he's sort of not fall from grace in a derogatory sense, but because he had sustained head injuries and he had lasting effects of that, so he bowed out a little bit before his time, really. So for him to be coming back into the Midlands League, really, really exciting. It's exactly what we need to get the crowds to turn up and watch.
Yeah, I mean, he was only 28 when he retired. It was great at Warrington, wasn't he? He's one of them X Factor players that you want in your team. He's also mad as a box of frogs. I don't know if you remember any of his post-game interviews on Sky Sports. He's fucking mental. So yeah, that's interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing him play. And Midlands Hurricanes are in the mix for the playoffs. North Wales Crusaders beat Workington this weekend as well, so they're in the mix. It's League One's going to be a really exciting end. It's interesting to see how it goes. I'll go through some of the other signings that the Hurricanes made then. Like I said, they were incredibly busy. Ethan Newbolt from Bradford Bulls was one of the youngsters who come up through the Bulls Academy. Sully Medworth from Hull, again, another young lad who's come up through the academy. They've signed Matty Crines for a 2-year deal. He was at the Hurricane. He's already a Hurricanes player. They've put him pen to paper on a 2-year deal. Jose Kenga from Donny. And then they picked up 3 players from Wigan, from the academy from Wigan. Finlay Beardsworth, I think he's been there before. Finn Irwin and Harry Hyam, all from the Wigan side. So you know that they'll all be quality players. So it looks like they've done their business at the back end of the season, and they're going to really make a push now for that playoff spot.
Really exciting times. Good luck, and we'll be keeping an eye on that.
Yeah, we're hoping to get either Jake Mamo or Mike Lomas on the podcast within the next week or so. So we're working on it.
Okay, so big name signing to big name matches and internationals now, Karl. So we've got a couple of new announcements for games confirmed later in the year.
Yes, it's taken a while to get this information out, but I'm glad that we finally had the wheelchair fixture announced and the women's fixture for the international series later on in the year. The ABK test series, which first thing I said to you was, are they an actual lager in this country? Is it B? I know that they sponsor Australian rugby. I don't know.
I've definitely seen it kicking around in the stadium.
Or is this just all links to do with NRL Vegas?
well, hey, it could be.
It could be. I mean, there's the conspiracies that the NRL wanted to take over Super League. There's a lot of things that point in that direction at the minute. Anyway, I'll move on. So England are playing France.
What, like IMG directors moving
to Australia? Yeah. Yeah, he's running it from Australia. Oh, yeah, all right, mate. Yeah.
Anyway, let's not speculate again.
England v France wheelchair rugby league. Can't wait for this. We went to it last year. It was an incredible match, and the record, they played 22 games. 13-9 in favour of France. Can't wait for. I just cannot wait for this. Out of all the international matches that are going to be happening at the end of the year, this is the one I'm most looking forward to.
And just a really exciting format of the game. But having observed some of the training camp and getting to know some of the players, it just makes it even more.
It's the rivalry with this one. That's what makes this game so good. It's the England-France rivalry. And it goes back right to the start of wheelchair rugby league, doesn't it? And they just don't like each other on the pitch.
I wonder if they'll be running over Seb Bashira's head again.
Well, yeah, that was, if you haven't seen that, go spot that out.
Put that down.
What a shocker that was. We've got to address it a little bit though. It's going to be played at Robin Park Arena. Now this is Wigan's. I think it's like their training park, isn't it, where they train. That seems like a massive step back from what we had last year, which was at the Leeds Arena, and there was thousands of fans in that arena for that ground, for that fixture. I'm a little bit disappointed that it's not going to be on that scale again.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been to the Robin Park Arena.
Neither have I. I've only seen footage of, but it's not Leeds Arena. Nowhere near, mate. Nowhere near. It felt like we put wheelchair rugby league on the huge stage last year, and it doesn't feel like we're capitalising on it. It feels like a bit of a backward step. This does.
But it is a hotbed of rugby league, so hopefully we can attract the fans to watch it, and as long as they put on the same kind of show.
Oh, they will do that, no doubt. There's no doubt it'll be an absolute cracker of a game. It just feels like wheelchair rugby league's been growing so much since the World Cup, and everything's been going in the right direction. And then to have the international of this magnitude on a smaller stage than we had last year, I'm a little bit disappointed. I would have loved to have seen it at Leeds Arena. Obviously, there's financial implications, I would have thought, is something to do with that.
But also scheduling, you know what I mean? If there's other stuff going on, then maybe this is one of the better places they can
take that performing that weekend, get them out. Yes, this is way more important, this is.
What about this? The Peace Hall in Halifax.
Mate, have you seen how bumpy the ground is in Peace Hall?
No, they must be able to do something. Of course I have. The cobbles and all that malarkey, but yeah, they could do something, surely. That'd be great.
Yeah, you know what? You've hit something there. As crazy as that idea was.
Yeah, but you can sort of,
gladiatorial arena, isn't it? That is perfect for wheelchair rugby league, is that? Yeah, if you sort the slope out, the cobbles, and then build a temporary stand. Yeah, it was perfect, mate. You've absolutely nailed that one.
Well, what's your suggestion, Odsel?
No, again, hang on. They've got to move mud track before we even think about that. The women will also be playing Wales on November the 2nd, so that's going to be the same week England v Samoa are playing at Headingley, so it'll be like a double header, same as they did last year, isn't it, with the Tonga game. I think that's the right way to do it. I think that's a good move, and it's good to see Wales on the international stage as well. So and if we do go to Great Britain, I hope we don't, personally. I hope we keep as England and Wales. If we do go to Great Britain, I would have thought there'll be some Welsh players who'll be looking to push their way into that Great Britain side. Unlike in the men's game, it's just going to be England. Yeah, no, I agree with that, and look forward to the complimentary Welsh cakes at the game again. Remember those? Yeah, tickets are £25 for adults and £12 for kids, and we've had no pricing on the wheelchair fixture yet, so I hope they get them out soon because that'll be good. Okay, so I'm going to bring it a little bit closer to home. And obviously, you won't have missed the fact that over the last couple of weeks we've been broadcasting from a new improved set. We're still finding our feet. We've gone for like a bit of a desk setup at the minute. Now, this wouldn't have been possible without establishing a new enterprise, if you like, Urban Flux, where, we're going to help people establish their own podcast, news shows, YouTube channels, video production, that kind of thing, because it's something that we've really enjoyed over the last year or so, 18 months, isn't it? Really? That's all it is, 18 months. Yeah, so we've got a dedicated podcast studio now with proper soundproofing. We can put a number of different sets in here, so if people want a certain set or you want to change it up, it's all tailored for doing YouTube videos as well, and talking head videos and things like that. We've really got a dedicated space now that we can do so much in here. So yeah, the Urban Flux website is urbanflux.co.uk. It's not live as yet, but we are working on it. What do you think? Week or two we should have that live, and people will be able to book slots, come and record their own podcasts here. There'll be a number of different options and packages as well, where you better just come and sit and record if you want, or if you want us to help with distribution and production and things like that. That's the sort of thing we're doing in it, Craig. The one thing to take from this is that this podcast is here to stay, and if anything, we just want to get better and better. And actually, we're very, very close to our first real big milestone, which is 1,000 subscribers. Subscribing to this channel is a great way to let us know that we're kicking out the right information that you want to. You want to see, you want to hear, So if you haven't subscribed, please do, and just help us get us to that milestone. The other thing that we're putting out there is that we are sort of actively looking for sponsorships and organisations that want to feature on the show, because there is a financial implication for running something like this. We started off from the back room at home, and that was all right. There was no real cost apart from the time and the equipment and that kind of thing. This is very different, but we do want to grow it, like we said. So if it is something that you're interested in, or you've got something that you want to plug or whatever, then give us a shout. Yeah, and we're sort of hitting around sort of 30,000 views a month now. That's sort of what we're averaging. So, which is more than the full 12 months of our first year, I think, isn't it? I think I remember it in 20,000. Yeah, it took us ages to get to 20,000, and now we're 30,000 views a month, and growing. And it is only going in one direction. So yeah, if you have a sportswear company, or I don't know, anything that's mild interest in rugby league, we generally are getting some decent viewing figures. So if you want to be involved in sponsoring the podcast, feel free to get in touch. And then last thing before we move on is we are establishing the Rugby League Outsiders store. Again, that'll be live on the Rugby League Outsiders website pretty soon. We'll get some deals on there, including a few bits of merchandise and stuff like that, which people have asked for before. So we'll keep you posted on that. Okay, now into the Williams Weekly. And I thought it'd be a real interesting talking point following Hull KR's win over Warrington, where Mikey Lewis basically put George Williams in his pocket. Right? Okay, he didn't exactly dominate him, but he definitely ran the show for that game. Yeah, he did. And that makes me wonder, like, between George Williams, Harry Smith and Mikey Lewis, like, who are the first choice England
halfbacks right now? What would that partnership be?
Yeah, and I mean, there are other players that are probably putting their hands up, but you've got to say it's going to be those three for England this year. I can't see anyone else breaking into that at the minute, can you? I was very much of the opinion of last year. I think Mikey Lewis is he's exciting, he's pushing in, but I was of the opinion he was the player that you could bring on the field to mix it up and change the direction a little bit. I'm leaning more now to him being one of the first choice players in the lineup. I don't know what are your thoughts. Who are your two halfbacks? If you're Sean Wayne,
well, there's two things here. So I mean, Sean Wayne has obviously got an allegiance to George Williams, and he's the international captain. So
and Harry Smith because he's a Wiganer.
This is my point. That was my point I was going to say. So I think George Williams, he's just tied down. I don't think he's moving. Therefore, it boils down to Michael Lewis versus Harry Smith, and Harry Smith's got this Wigan link.
Yeah.
He also performed extremely well against Tonga back end of last year, and did a couple of things that were really exciting. And one thing that you get from Harry Smith is almost like a metronome, just like ding, 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 just goes through the aspects of the game that he needs to do to control the ball, and ultimately win games. And he's performing, you know what I mean, at the highest in this country right now. It's definitely an interesting conversation.
I would go as far as saying he is probably the top Super League player at the minute.
Who, Harry Smith?
No,
Mikey Lewis.
Mikey Lewis. I would say Mikey Lewis is probably the top performing halfback, and if you're the best player in the league and you can't push your way into the England squad because of reputation, I think there's something wrong there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go all out. I'm going all out here. I'm going to say I think Mikey Lewis should be the starting halfback for England this year.
Yeah, I think,
at this moment in time, how he's playing.
Yeah, I think the partnership should be George Williams, Mikey Lewis.
Right, okay.
The problem with this is, like you've already made an interesting point, and that interesting point is like Mikey Lewis can change a game. He brings a different dynamic. However, to go the other way might not necessarily work unless Mikey Lewis is just getting targeted, which Tonga started to do. They didn't quite tie him down in the series last year, but they got wise to him, you know what I mean? They started targeting him and shutting him down, okay, to then be able to bring on Harry Smith, who runs the game in a different way. Yeah, it could work. So maybe that's the format.
So we're agreeing then. We're going George Williams and Mikey Lewis. Well, we're going to get loads of shit for this,
Well, this is brilliant. Yeah, but that's exactly. It's not shit. I just want people's opinion. I want to know what their thoughts are and why. Justify it to us, because is there something we missed, something we don't know? Because
I'll play devil's advocate for a second here. George Williams and Mikey Lewis, more attacking halfbacks. So you're putting two more attacking halfbacks on. Then if you're putting Harry Smith on the bench, what are you going to get if you bring him on?
Right, I think young George Williams and Michael Lewis would not have worked. Too similar.
Right.
I think George Williams has changed now. Like, he is running plays. He's demanding that team. I mean, you watch him at the weekend and the way he's snapping and he's constantly scheming. You know what I mean? To run the team, very different.
Yeah.
I remember a time when he went to Canberra and they were like, we just want to get him to open his mouth up a bit, you know what I mean, and just start controlling. So I don't think that would have worked too much. But now I think, one, George Williams is mature enough. Two, Mikey Lewis knows his place on the pitch, and so I think as a dynamic it could work.
The good news is
we don't need to make the decision.
Well, yeah, and we haven't been in this position as an international side where we're actually debating which halfback we're going to use, which halfback pairing we're going to use, because we know as England, look, we are obsessed with beating Australia. Let's put it on the table, and I hope that when these Ashes come round, we do them. We've always been able to compete with the top international nations, Australia, in the forwards. We've always had a rough and ready pack, and in fact, we've actually scared a lot of international sides with our forward pack. But we've never been as good in the backs, and we've never had the half-backs that have been able to compete at the highest level with like players that you've seen playing State of Origin. I do feel now that the fact that we're debating which half-back we're going to use tells us that we've got three really strong half-backs there. So Australia,
Watch this space.
Watch this space.
But I think here's another interesting thing just to carry on is like we've always had a lot of choice with hookers, right?
Yeah.
But who's your first choice hooker now? Because like Danny Walker is doing really well. Until recently, Darryl Clark wasn't setting the league alight.
No,
he did. He had a great game recently, but bit quiet there. So
he has. I think you need that like experience at hooker.
Yeah.
And I think at the minute I'd still go with Darryl Clark.
All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
That brings our show to an end. If you've not checked out our prediction video at all, then go and check it out. It is without doubt our most popular video that we do each week. And we talk through the games coming up and what our predictions are. We always have a little bit of banter backwards and forwards and a little bit of interesting team news. And so check that out on the channel if you haven't done already. Anything to look forward to, Karl?
Yes. We've got an episode with Troy Perkins this week. It was one of my favourite episodes that we've recorded. So I'll give you a little bit of background about Troy. He played in the NRL, Australian schoolboys, State of Origin schoolboys, came over, played professional rugby league in France. He was also involved with Catalans Dragons at one point. Then made a move to the Midlands, where he played for Coventry Bears, and now he runs Tri-Tag Rugby. So fascinating character. He brought some great shirts along as well, which I think if you're a shirt enthusiast, yeah, you'll enjoy it. But yeah, it's got we couldn't fit it all into to one episode, really, could we?
No, and if you haven't checked out last week's episode of Mark Almond of Aston Warriors, go and check that out because that is really interesting too. And we're always on the lookout for interesting guests and news stories around rugby league. So if you've got something you want to share or a club to promote, then give us a shout. That it, Karl?
Yep.
Right. Until next week.
Till
take
next
care.
time.